You're listening to One of a Kind Milwaukee. I'm Angela, your host. And on today's episode, I'm so excited because this interview is amazing, 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 amazing. I had the opportunity to interview Chef Gregory Leon of Amilinda, located in Milwaukee. And you know what? We're going to dive right in. So let's take a listen. Congrats
Thank you very much.
to Chef Gregory Leon on 10 years here at Amilinda. Thank you so much for having me here in
Thank
the
you for
restaurant.
including us in your podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have been here before.
Okay, and you enjoyed it?
I did, yes.
Okay,
I
good.
sat at the bar and
Perfect.
enjoyed some spicy chicken to me.
Piri piri?
Yes.
Okay, yeah,
Yes.
that's a little spicy.
It is a little spicy, but you know what? It was really good. I've been trying to work on my spice.
Okay,
so
good.
It was a good spice.
I'm not a fan of spicy food at
Okay.
all. And when I went to Portugal the first time, I'd never had piri piri chicken there, so I was like, I need to try this. I need to make sure. And so we ended up finding, I did some research to find the oldest one in Lisbon, and we went and had dinner. A friend of mine and I went, and there you get half a chicken, and the way it's served is a little bit different. I ate a whole chicken because it was so good, but I'm sweating and my nose is running. It was not a pleasant experience, but the chicken was amazing. So
Right. Yes.
I get the spice thing.
Yes, absolutely. So, did you ever imagine that Amilinda would grow into what it is here today?
No. The original vision for the restaurant was actually something completely different, like a different shape, a different concept. There's a counter with 12 seats and not a lot of staff.
Yeah.
And but so I never envisioned a restaurant that would look like this. But more importantly, I never thought that the restaurant could be what it's become now, and how important it is to other people. I just wanted a place where I could do what I love to do for a living, which is cook
Right.
and feed people, and maybe have a couple regulars that you talk to all the time. And it certainly has exceeded any expectations I might have had before we opened.
So, was this the original location then?
So yeah, this is the original location.
Okay.
It's the only location we've had. We were a pop-up restaurant first, and that started in December of 2013 and lasted till January of 2015. The first 3 pop-ups that we did were monthly, and it was once a month, and it was at a different location. The one we did for Valentine's Day in 2014 was actually at a friend's condo complex party room. It was for Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
And then after that one, it was always at the National Cafe. Nell, who I like to refer to as the godmother of Amilinda, let us use her restaurant for almost a year.
Very nice.
So we could get some footing.
Great. Can you take us back to the opening night here?
There wasn't really anything on the walls.
Okay.
My friend Carmen had been here till 4 a.m. scrubbing the floors. It was just, there's a lot of very important people to us, not important people in general, but my family was here. A lot of our supporters, a lot of people that we had fed at the pop-ups, a lot of our friends. The opening of the restaurant was truly a labor of love. I hate to use this cliche line, it takes a village, but it really did. I have friends who, it was this group of 5 ladies, and they got together and they would upholster all the chairs for us. My dad sanded all the chairs and repainted them. My brother painted the walls. My other brother built the counter. So it was a labor. Amilinda was open because of the generosity and hard work of a lot of people.
Yeah, that's great. That's amazing backstory.
Thanks.
To that. Yeah. So, what inspired you to first become a chef? Was it a certain dish? Was it a certain moment?
I don't, I can't remember a certain moment or something that I ate at as a child that I was like, oh my God, I want to do this for a living. In fact, it didn't dawn on me that I could do this for a living until many years later when I was in my 20s. Food had always really interested me. I would grab my mother's cookbooks and take them to the bedroom and read them at night. And I was always fascinated by food and people cooking. And I grew up in Venezuela, which is a very macho-like society. And men don't necessarily cook unless it's on the weekend, then it's outside on a grill. So that, I had to kind of not necessarily keep my interest hidden, but it wasn't something that, I was like, oh my God, I like food. I have a friend from junior high who swears to God that I told him that I wanted to become a chef when we were at school together. I don't remember that, but he's a pretty trustworthy person, so I don't think he would make that story up.
Okay.
But It was many years later when I was about 22. I had been kicked out of college because I did very poorly. And I was watching a show on TV called Great Chefs of the World. And it was a cooking show on the Discovery Channel. They didn't teach you how to cook, but it was kind of like, oh, this is how chefs cook. And the chefs didn't even talk. It was a voiceover. And I remember catching that show one afternoon and being like, oh my God, this is what I want to do for a living. This is what I want to do with my life.
Yeah. Well, happy that you saw that.
I'm very happy that I saw it too. I can't imagine. I just have a hard time imagining doing anything else.
Yeah. It was a true calling.
It was my calling.
Yeah.
Yes.
So for those who have yet to dine here, and we'll focus on the yet to dine here.
Okay. Yes.
How would you describe the culinary style?
So we are inspired by the Iberian Peninsula. So we take inspiration from Spain and Portugal. Sometimes you'll find our interpretation of traditional dishes. And then sometimes you'll find a dish that we have come up with on our own, but that's inspired by maybe a certain region or a certain ingredient. For me, when I'm creating new dishes, it tends to start with one particular ingredient. And then I just kind of build from there. After being open for 10 years, we'll say, I'm like, oh, I want to put rabbit back on the menu because we love rabbit and we put it on the menu all the time. Then I'll start thinking, not only is that my baseline where I start building the dish, but I also start thinking, okay, what have we already done? We've done all these other rabbit combinations. What else can we do now?
Right.
So, but it's Spain and Portugal, so the flavors and their techniques.
Nice. So as you mentioned, best known for Spanish and Portuguese influences. What then? Diving further a little bit more into what drew you into these influences.
So when I first started my career, I thought I wanted to be a pastry chef, and I did that on and off for about 2 or 3 years. And then I came into service one night, and the restaurant was packed, and I was just like, oh my God, I'm feeding off this energy. I love this. Yeah. So I decided to not do pastries and just move into the savory side. And I was very much influenced by Alice Waters and Berkeley and Japanese. The quintessential restaurant in California. I thought, okay, I'll do French food, which I really enjoyed. And then in 1997, by chance, I was invited to go to Madrid to meet an American chef from Decatur, Illinois, who was a very well-known chef in Spain. And he had a restaurant, and he wanted to get an American cook to come. He wanted to teach them and then take over the restaurant. And so in 1997, I went to Spain for the first time. It was my first time in Europe. And I just fell in love with the people and the culture and the relationship that they have with food and cooking and just like everything. I mean, my dad's family is from the Canary Islands. So I feel like there's this weird like cosmic pull to Spain. And then, so I immediately was like, this is what I want to do. And then many years later, I worked with a Portuguese chef in San Francisco. And I was also like, oh my God, I love this also. Right. So when it was time to open Amilinda, I didn't want to pick or choose. So I was like, we'll just do the Iberian Peninsula.
Best of both worlds.
Best of both worlds.
Is there a signature dish that really tells the story of Amilinda or yourself on the menu?
Oh, I don't know if there's ever been a dish on the menu that tells my story or necessarily the story of Amilinda. I mean, our menu changes constantly. Okay. So we're constantly developing it, constantly changing things. We might not come in on a Wednesday and be like, okay, 50 new dishes today. Although we've tried that before and it was a bit of a nightmare. Okay. But what we'll do is we'll come in and I'm like, okay, let's change the steak and the chicken, maybe the rabbit, and a couple starters. And then the other dishes we'll either leave the way they are or we'll tweak them. I'm like, oh, we got these great carrots today from a farmer. Let's add that to the fish or whatever. Signature dishes, I think ones that have been constantly reappearing on our menu is the chicken piri-piri, which you had, the pork carcamusa, our chocolate and olive oil mousse. Has been on here since we opened, and that's a dish that I've been making since I went to Spain the first time. Okay. So I would say those are like our 3 signature dishes, but we're trying to tell the story of Spain and Portugal, not of Amilinda, right. So maybe that's why.
Yeah. How do you stay inspired in the kitchen? Is there something you're super excited about right now?
So it's, after cooking for 30 years in a professional kitchen and then doing the same kind of food for 10, you get sometimes you're like, oh, I need to find inspiration. Yeah. So, I do a lot of reading. I like to go out and eat when I have time. So I get inspiration from colleagues here in town. These guys, they are both very young and they're extremely hungry and they're constantly sending me videos of stuff that they want to do or try. So they certainly keep me inspired. Yeah. And it's fun to see how a younger generation finds their inspiration. they'll come to me like, oh, I saw this dish on TikTok, which to me immediately it's like, what are you doing? Pick up a book. You know what I mean? Because I'm just like, to me, it's like, I'm going to read a book. I'm going to pick up an actual book and go through this cookbook. For them, it's more online stuff. And I've had to learn how to not discredit it because, oh, you saw it on TikTok, or whatever. No, I'm like, okay, cool. It's kind of serious. So the staff is what mostly keeps me inspired.
Yeah, I love that. So the dining scene is always shifting.
Mm-hmm.
How do you balance the creativity but also keep in the consistency for your guests?
Well, yeah, consistency is very important. So we try to keep the same standards constantly. So, same plating style, same style of food. And I don't necessarily mean like the type of food, but not like teeny tiny molecular gastronomy. We're known for like more of a hearty, even in the summer, it's more like substantial plates. Like, so, as long as we keep that consistency in the same style and then we can play around with the different dishes. So I think that's how we do it.
Yeah. And then how has Amilinda changed over the years, not only as a restaurant, but also as a community space?
Well, it was never, I wish I could sit here and say, part of the plan was to turn it into a community space. And that was just never really part of the equation because I didn't know that you could use a restaurant for that. So, the food has pretty much stayed the same. The type of food that we're doing, it's more the community aspect of it is really, as I said earlier, I am constantly taken back by how much this place means to other people. And this is always something that's a little hard for me to talk about because it just kind of evolved. It just kind of happened. It has a lot to do with the people who have worked here and the people who have come to visit us. I've managed to find a bunch of people who are very community oriented and they're an incredible staff. And I think the staff that I have now is probably the best staff I've ever had in the 10 years we've been open. It's the process or the change from just a restaurant where people go and eat to, it's a community space. And now we host other chefs and we host refugees and we raise money and it's a place where you can feel safe. It just kind of happened organically. I wish I had a process.
I think that's great though.
And I wish I could say, okay, this is the process, and I feel like since it happened organically, it kind of gives it a little bit more authenticity. I don't think people look at it and like, oh, they're doing this for the press or they're doing this because it looks good. I think people genuinely look at us and be like, wow, they do this because they want to really help the community around them.
Yeah, I love that.
Thanks.
So, you've used this, as you mentioned, it wasn't an intentional platform, but it's turned into that. So it's helped to uplift the LGBTQIA plus community, the HIV plus individuals, refugee families, and more. So why is that important to you? Like, why has that been kind of the communities do you feel that have been the safe haven, if you will, for
there was no, when we choose to do an event or help a community, obviously the LGBTQ plus community, because they're part of it. So that was kind of a no-brainer. Same thing with the HIV community and HIV positive. So, I don't think we have, this week we need to help refugees and next week, it's just kind of what comes across, what kind of path, what we cross paths with. I mean, anybody could come in here and be like, I have a charity for chicken. Can you help me raise money? And I would probably say yes. My parents did a very good job of raising my brothers and I with the mentality that nobody's better than anybody else. No matter what you do or how talented you are or the color of your skin or how much money you have, we're all the same. And if I always saw my parents always would help other people. And it was never a question. I was just talking about this with my friend Jen, who's co-writing the cookbook with me. Is, this past year, because it's our 10th year anniversary, a lot of people have been asking, why do you do these things? And it's always been a very hard question for me to answer. And then I realized one day I can't answer the question because there's no real reason why we do it. We just do it. And so my parents were also the same. Like I would see them constantly helping people. And it was never a conversation. It was like, oh, you have to do this. It was like, we just saw how our parents were and like, well, this is the kind of human being we need to be. I have been in periods of my life not in the best spot, and have needed help from people. And I wouldn't be here today with my own restaurant if it wasn't because other people helped me.
Right.
So I feel like it's important to pay it back. I'm in a position that I can help others, so why wouldn't you not do that? I don't.
Yeah, that's great. Love that.
Thank you.
Yeah. So you also helped to launch Tables Across
Mm-hmm.
Borders. So what inspired this, and what does it mean to see it continue to grow?
You know, I wish I could take credit for the actual original idea, but I don't. My friend Kai came to me and said, I go to all the, she worked with refugees here in Milwaukee, and she's like, I would go to these refugees' house to talk to them and help them out. And they would always feed me. And she's like, I've had some of the most amazing food I've had in my life. So how can we help them make money? And it's like, well, I think we can find 2 other chefs, and between 3 restaurants, we can host them. And the way it is, they come in, they cook, we sell tickets, they get all that money. So it's I love it. It's one of the more fun things we do. It's interesting to see how these people cook and what their relationship with food is, and how they use some of the same ingredients we do, but in a completely different way. And we've gotten to learn techniques from Southeast Asia and Africa and the Middle East and Eastern Europe. So it's really interesting. I think it's a great. I think right now, even more than ever, it's an important thing for us to do. I think immigrants in this country are being dehumanized. And so if we can provide a platform where they can show that they're just like anybody else, it'll maybe help a little bit.
Yeah.
I hope.
Yeah. Is there any of those coming up?
No, so usually we do them in the spring.
Okay.
And then I love the warm summer weather. So I try not to do a lot of extra things during the
That's fair.
summer so I can be outside.
Yeah.
And then in the fall, late fall, and then all through winter, we'll do them again.
All right.
When I don't want to be outside. So
I'll make sure to, in the show notes, share like your social medias and
website and stuff,
so everyone can stay in the loop on those.
That would be fantastic.
So whether dining out for life, Fondy Fest, or mentoring chefs, your outreach is in many communities. So how do you choose like where to put all this energy? Because that's like it's a lot, right?
Again, you know, some of them because they're like very near and dear to me, like the HIV community. Others, it's just they literally just happened to come across my desk and somebody called and said, hey. So today, actually, everybody who knows me knows I'm a big dog lover. I'm currently wearing a t-shirt with the picture of one of my dear pets. And so this organization reached out and they're like, we want to raise some money. Can you help us? We know you're a dog lover. So this afternoon at 5:00, this rescue is going to show up with 3 dogs. We're open for dinner service, and then we'll donate a percentage of our sales to them.
Great.
Yeah.
I have 3 dogs myself.
Dogs are the best.
So yes, yeah. So Amilinda has also become a great chef pop-up place. What makes you open your kitchen to others? And can you share any like standout moments from a pop-up chef experience?
I've often wondered how many very talented cooks are out there that would have been extremely successful. And I don't necessarily mean financially, just like with their careers, if they would have just given a platform or the chance. And, you know, this is an industry where, like, although the chef doesn't do all the hard work, he's the one that gets all the credit. And, you know, we should really change that. So I try to be very open about who does what in this restaurant and give credit to these guys because they really do the heavy lifting. So I wanted to use my restaurant to highlight some people who perhaps don't get the recognition they deserve. Also, as I mentioned earlier, Amilinda got its start as a pop-up restaurant. When I went to go speak to Nell Benton at the National, she had no idea who I was. She had never had my food. She could have easily said no. And I expected it. You know, I sent her an email within an hour. She responded. I met with her that afternoon. I figured, I'll talk to her. It'll take her a few days to think about this. And then maybe in a month we can start. The whole process took like a couple hours. And by the time I met with her that same day, she was like, okay, let's do this now. And I was like, well, I need to write a menu. I need to figure out what I'm doing. So like, I just tried to find a space for her. So if it wasn't because of her, I would have never gotten a chance here in Milwaukee. I moved here, didn't really know anybody in the food industry. So being able to do a pop-up was very important to me because I could be like, hey, Milwaukee, here I am. This is the food I'm doing. So every day I remember that if it wasn't because of her letting me use her restaurant and giving me that platform, I might not be here. So I tried to do the same thing for other people. Some of my favorite ones, oh my God. I mean, we've cooked with some really great people. I think helping Caitlin Cullen, who used to own the Tandem here in Milwaukee, doing her first pop-up was all super fun. She's a very good friend. We just hosted Mary Castman, who just opened Purslane here in Milwaukee. This is my favorite restaurant. So if you haven't been there, go eat there. It's really good. We hosted her here too. That was fun. I mean, the ones where it's people that are really known and I'm really good friends, those are the ones that like really, you know. But even people that are just like, hey, can I use the restaurant? I like those too. I like to see what other people are doing. And if I can help somebody start their career, I'm glad to.
So when, what do you look for in a young emerging chef for like that kind of position?
For a pop-up or just to come work here?
Either.
Either.
Yeah.
You know, for pop-up, I'm not necessarily looking for them. They kind of look for me. So, you know, I'm not going to have somebody come in here and do a pop-up if I don't feel like they're going to respect what they're doing or they're going to respect the customer who's going to spend their money to come eat at the pop-up. I've never came across anybody like that, thank God. As far as for people working here in the kitchen, you know, you have to be into this for the right reason. And, you know, opinions, everybody's got their different opinion. In my opinion, the right reason is because you love food, you love working with food, you love working with farmers, you like feeding people, you like the social aspect of a restaurant. I tell everybody, if you are getting into this because you want to be rich or famous, save yourself some heartbreak. Don't do it. Because very few of us are rich or famous. And I'm happy with not being rich or famous because that's not why I got into this. So if somebody who's got a mission, really wants to learn, that's also very important. No attitude. I just don't. I'm 55. I don't have time to deal with somebody's ego or attitude. So if you're too good to take the trash out or, I don't know, clean the toilet one day because the dishwasher's running behind, then I don't have any room for you here. But I also wouldn't ask anybody to do anything I wouldn't do.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like if I'm going to scrub the floor and my hands and knees before I ever ask you to do it. So.
Yeah. Love that.
We like some ambition. We like some curiosity. You know.
Yeah. So you have been nominated for the James Beard Award 4 times now, including 2 finalists. How has this recognition affected you personally, professionally?
I mean, professionally, it's made people more aware of the restaurant. And I do feel like every year during the nomination and voting period, we're a lot busier. So we are very grateful for that because we haven't had a slow season in 4 years. Personally, you know, I don't wake up every day and like, oh my God, what do people think about me today? But it's nice to know that people that you work alongside and that people that you admire and that you look up to and you've looked up to your whole career, appreciate what you're doing. I don't feel like I need anybody's stamp of approval. I know what we're doing here is pretty good. My customers tell me that every night, but it's so nice to have, again, people that you admired and whose career you followed all these years, especially, you know, when you started cooking, you're 24 and you do nothing. And these are some chefs that I've been following my whole career. To have them look at what we do and be like, wow, this is really great. And, you know, I want to make a point to say that while those nominations are in my name, it's certainly a group effort. You know, I'm not working at the restaurant by myself when they're voting. I have a magnificent group of human beings. So the fact that we've got 4 nominations is really a reflection on what an amazing team I have, you know? And so I want to make sure people know that. But it's, you know, I remember being in San Francisco, being 24, not knowing anything about the food industry and somebody talking about James Beard Awards and me being like, what? And like being something that always to me seemed quite unattainable. So to have 1, I was incredibly grateful and surprised. To have 4 and 2 of them be, you know, in a national category is, it's very humbling. So
So what advice do you have for chefs in the Midwest that are dreaming big?
Oh God. Stay in the Midwest because the Midwest does need some good restaurants and good chefs. You know, really honor and pay attention to what's going around you. You know, I'm not from here. I came to visit 13 years ago and decided to stay. And one of the things I like the most is that it's so accessible to like the farmers. You can just work with farmers. It's just not, you know, when I lived in the Bay Area, very few restaurants that I ever worked at, when I see farmers showing up and dropping stuff off. So I know most people might think it's trivial and the big lights of a city are probably more appealing than working with the farmer. But let me tell you, there's a certain value about working with your farmer. And so value that and stay in the Midwest. You know, it's a lot easier to be a middle-sized fish in a small pond than it is to be a little fish in a big pond. And if all you really want to do is cook for people and be great at your craft and cook good food, you can do that anywhere. It doesn't have to be in New York or San Francisco or LA.
Yeah. I've been hearing a lot more about the I guess the accessibility of being just even here with the access to the farmers.
It's incredible. Like I've worked with more fresh fruits and vegetables since I moved to Milwaukee than I did in the 18 years. And not fresh. We worked with fresh stuff at restaurant, but I mean we just picked these tomatoes. They're still warm from the sun. That's what I mean. Like freshly picked stuff.
Yes.
I didn't know any farmers when I lived out in California, and not to knock my 18 years there. My 18 years there were incredible. I'm incredibly grateful. Maybe the chef who I am today. There were great things that I got there that I would never get here. But there's something about having a small little restaurant in a medium-sized city and knowing your customers. Like I know just about everybody who comes in here on a nightly basis. That connection I love.
Yeah. So what does Milwaukee mean to you? And how has your connection changed over these past years here with Amilinda?
Well, I've only my love for Milwaukee has only grown since I moved here. And it's funny because I didn't hear of Milwaukee prior to 2012. Or didn't know where it was.
Yeah.
I didn't even know what the connection to TV shows was. Like most people well, I know from Laverne and Shirley or Happy Days. I'm like that. Yeah. I didn't even realize that. And I have a friend who's from here, and in 2012, after being in California for 18 years, I decided I was going to leave because it was too expensive. And I was going to move to Portland, Oregon. And I traveled that whole summer with the dog, and we went to all these different cities, and I was looking for a city that wasn't expensive, had a food scene, because I knew I wanted to open a restaurant. I early on in my travels, I'd gone to Portland, Oregon. I was like, Portland's where I'm going to move to. And then at the end of August, a friend of mine from here texted me, and he says, you really should come see Milwaukee. And I was like, I don't know, what is that? And he's like, oh, it's where I live. We've never come to visit my city. We've been friends for X amount of years. And I was like, I don't have money. I don't have money. I've been living off my savings. I've been flying on vouchers. The airline doesn't go to Milwaukee. It's not in the cards. Let me go to Portland, get a job, work, make some money. I'll come visit you next year. And a day or two later, he texts me. He says, I got you a ticket with some miles. You need to come visit Milwaukee. And I was like, fine. Granted, I came in the summer. If I would have come in the winter, I don't know if we would be sitting here together having this conversation.
Right.
Because I'm not a fan of the cold.
Yeah.
But I came out at the end of August and just immediately fell in love with the city.
Yeah.
It's especially in the summer. It's just such a great place. And the people are so nice. And then he took me to a bunch of restaurants, and I went to Odd Duck, was the last restaurant I went to. And I literally remember eating this food. This could be in San Francisco. And the place was packed. And being like, okay, clearly people in Milwaukee appreciate food, good food. I love it. I've made some of the best friends I've ever had in my life here. I've had some of the most fantastic experiences. I'm always wary of talking about Milwaukee too much and how amazing it is, because maybe I don't want everybody to end up moving here. But I love it. I really have nothing bad to say about the city though.
Let's see. So you've created a safe haven here at Amilinda, and what have you learned from your guests or staff or collaborators along the way?
Oh God, what have I learned? That's a good question. Well, I've learned a lot about the human being. Let me tell you, opening a restaurant, you learn a lot about humans. What have I learned? You're putting me on the spot now. I've learned the importance of a meal, or how important a meal can be for people. I always knew food was important to people, but in just so many different levels. I've learned how a space that was never intended to be more than just four walls where people come in and eat can evolve into something that's way more meaningful to strangers. During the pandemic, we had several of our guests send us their stimulus checks. And they would write a note, and they would say, we want you to use this check and put it towards the restaurant. Because we want to make sure the restaurant is still open when the pandemic ends, because it's a very important place for us.
Yeah.
So that, just learning how important this place is for people is just always it just completely blows my mind. I got an email a couple of weeks ago from this couple, and they're like, we're getting married next year. We want to have a rehearsal dinner at the restaurant. You just hosted our engagement party, and we know it's a year out, but could you please? And then they could go on to talk about how this restaurant is an important part of the relationship. It's where they had the first date.
Mm-hmm.
It's where they came after they got engaged. So I've just learned that, like, how a random space can just become so important to
Yeah.
strangers.
Yeah. Well, and I think with how you've built it off of such, love and like family and
Yeah.
importance, you're continuing that with your guests, so it's great.
Thank you.
Yeah. So pulling into the Milwaukee community and food scene.
Yeah,
Sorry.
no, it's fine.
To give you a minute
It's
there.
okay. It's okay.
How does the Milwaukee food scene support, challenge, and inspire you?
Well, I mean, I have to say, so while I was in San Francisco, well, I did open a restaurant for somebody, and I was executive chef of a couple of restaurants. I was never, no, nobody knew who I was. I was just a cook, and so I didn't really interact with a lot of the other big chefs because why would I? Wasn't in their league or whatever. So I don't know if this exists in San Francisco, but one of the things that like really surprised me here was the sense of community amongst all the chefs. Do 100% of us like each other? No, we're human. You're bound to cross paths with somebody you don't enjoy. But I would say for the most part, it's incredible. And I tell my chef friends in other cities and they're like, whatever. And I was like, no, like, we're all friends. We all support each other. We prop each other up. We go to other people's restaurants, Right around the corner, a restaurant opened maybe about a year or two ago by a friend of mine. And he calls me one day and he says, I wanted to call you before the story broke. I'm about to open a restaurant around the corner for you. Not about to, but I'm going to open it. And I just wanted to let you know. And I was like, oh my God, that's awesome. What can I do to help? Like, literally, we're sharing the alley. This is great. I can't wait. I'm like, we can walk back and forth and say hi. And I could like sense that he was like taken back and surprised. And I was like, what's wrong? He's like, you're not mad? I'm like, well, why would I be mad? I'm like, is it a Spanish and Portuguese inspired restaurant? So he's like, no. And it's like, then why would I be mad? I'm like, if he were opening the same kind of concept, I'd be a little ticked off.
Yeah.
But I'm like, why would I be mad that you're A, following your dream, B, bringing more good food to downtown? Like, well, I don't understand why. Like, I really was like, why? I kept asking him why, and he's like, well, we're around the corner, and I was like, no, like this is like when I like to say when one of us is successful here, we're all successful. A new restaurant in the neighborhood means more foot traffic, and my friend he can follow his dream, and it's a different type of cuisine. I think it's a win-win situation. So the way we all support each other, just to me, is just incredible. I love it. It's great. It's just like and challenges. I would say for me the biggest challenge is the weather. Because in winter, you got to become so creative with potatoes and onions and stuff that, obviously we'll buy stuff that comes from other countries because we just have to. Because I can't have 12 months because I feel like winter lasts 12 months of just potatoes and onions on my menu. I think that's it. I think those are the two big ones. I think the reason Milwaukee didn't lose many restaurants during the pandemic was also because we were all keeping an eye out for each other and making sure we were all doing what we needed to do to be able to stay open.
Yeah. I have a couple more questions.
Sure. Oh, you take your time.
So, what's next? What do you have plans for a second decade?
So we're currently working on a cookbook.
Okay.
And my lovely friend who's sitting at the end of the counter, if it wasn't for her tenacity, I don't know if it would ever happen. Because writing a cookbook involves a lot of tasks that I just do not enjoy.
Yeah.
So she's doing a great job of that. I've had some people approach me with a project that would be internationally. Okay. And so we're currently talking about it to see what happens. But Amilinda will be here as long as people want to come and eat. Yeah. And as long as it's feasible and we can make a living off of it. So in 20 years, we'll do a 20-year interview. How about that?
Love it. We'll be here for that.
Excellent.
And then what do you hope your legacy will be? Not just as a chef, but as a community builder.
My legacy? Yeah. Hopefully people will be like, he was kind of a pain in the ass sometimes, but at the end of the day, he was a nice guy and he knew how to cook. I hope I leave maybe a few cooks who have trained and cooked here. Maybe my legacy is them moving on and opening their own establishments and being equally successful. And then hopefully they learned to do the same thing for the generation that comes after them. I think that would be a pretty cool legacy, just to see how successful everybody is that's worked here. I think I would like that to be my legacy.
Yeah. And then is there anything else that you'd like to share?
I don't know. I think we pretty much covered everything. Just just to the diner out there who's listening, just when you go out and eat, just be nice to the people who are cooking for you and serving you, and remember that a lot of the food that you're eating in these restaurants is picked and cleaned and prepared by immigrants and cooked by immigrants. So just remember that. That's a good thing to remember.
Well, thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much.
Yes,
It's
thank
nice
you.
meeting you.
Yes, you as well.
Thank you again to Chef Gregory Leon. That was an amazing interview. Learned so much about your history, the restaurant's history, and also the Milwaukee culinary scene a little bit more. But it's good to know that in Milwaukee we have a more tight-knit community, which I feel like is like a Milwaukee vibe. I hope in general, maybe a Midwest vibe too, so, and you heard it here, stay in the Midwest. We need good restaurants here in the Midwest is the place to be for restaurants. So but yeah, it's just amazing how many efforts Amilinda, Chef Gregory, and his team has helped with. And I also love that, he really made sure to, it's that true, there's no I in team concept. You know what I'm saying? It was very much that the restaurant is a family unit for him. His team is a family unit, and they have earned this and done this all together, and it's just, I love it so much. Honestly, check them out. I'll have all the details in the show notes so you can make those dinner reservations, or you can get their food to go, because they now offer takeout to go. So that is new with their 10-year. And we're all going to be ready for that 20-year anniversary. So I'll be waiting for my invite in 10 years. And yeah, we'll just be keeping a lookout for, charity events that they'll be having tonight. So when you're listening to this, it will have already happened. But the rescue that he mentioned, that's there. I was watching on their stories they had live updates, and Chef gave the pups steak. Cutest thing ever. They got a little steak dinner, and they're donating 30% of the dining from open to close to the rescue, which is absolutely amazing. I'm looking forward to seeing more of what's to come, learning more about the refugee dinners. I really want to check one of those out once those take place in the later fall or spring. So I'll be keeping an eye out for those, because those sound like a really amazing experience. Yeah, it was just such a great interview. I kind of still have that post interview buzz kind of taking place right now. So, but if you haven't checked them out, please, please, please do. But honestly, thank you again so much for this interview. It was such a great experience, and I can't wait to return. The fun thing about a menu that is constantly changing is there's always something new to try. And I think that that's super neat. And I always look forward to trying new things. So until next time.